welcome back to my channel. And also, welcome to those who haven't been here before. For those who have seen my pinned video, my introduction about myself, yes, it is the same day because it is the same outfit. I figured, why not shoot both videos today? I had the time and energy, so please don't judge me. So for those who are new or haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, please do hit those buttons below. And also, please follow me on Instagram at Dr. Jenny from the Block. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to drop a video about mental health and like what is mental health and what are some challenges and issues facing the Black community in terms of getting support that we deserve and that we may need at times. So first, I kind of wanted to talk about what mental health is, and don't judge. I have my little paper. I won't be necessarily reading from it, but sometimes my brain just has so many ideas and so many things I want to talk about that I have to like slow myself down. So I might glance down. I'm just being transparent. It helps me stay focused. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like what mental health means. So mental health is really just the state of well-being of your mind, and it specifically pertains to how we're thinking, how we're feeling, and how we're behaving. Usually mental health concerns arise when there's an issue in one or all of those domains, and usually if there's a problem in one, it typically trickles to the other domains. So, mental health is something that everyone in their life will experience, and by that I mean at some point we will feel sad, we will feel really angry, we might feel anxious, even depressed, and that's part of the human experience. Throughout the course of our lifetimes, we will experience suffering in various ways, and there is a path through suffering. We can be liberated through that and we can heal, but it doesn't mean that at times when we're experiencing that suffering that it won't mess with our minds and create more psychological barriers for ourselves. And another thing I want to mention is that, if you are anxious about something, it's not forever. If you are depressed about something, it doesn't have to be forever. I think when people hear mental health, they immediately think of people who are diagnosed with more severe mental health diagnoses. And so then as soon as someone mentions mental health, what I hear, especially in the Black community, is like, I'm not crazy and all these things. And it's like, it's not about you being crazy. Our mental health can be influenced by a number of different factors. Your mental health can be influenced by the neighborhood you live in. If you grow up in a neighborhood where poverty, gun violence is rampant and part of your norm, that can mess with your psyche. If you are consuming foods that have toxins or not good for you, that can impact your psyche. If you have witnessed a traumatic event, let's say you watch someone get into a horrific car crash, that can induce psychological distress. If you yourself have been in a car wreck or anything like that, assaulted, those things impact your mental health. Even our biological dispositions can make us more susceptible to certain disorders and issues. For example, bipolar disorder is one of the most heritable disorders that you can get. Like if you have a parent, one or both parents that might have it, there's a higher chance that you could develop some of those symptoms. And that's not to scare people. That's just to say, like, mental health concerns doesn't mean that you're crazy or that you've done something wrong. We just might experience anxiety, depression, etc. because of our lived experiences. So I want to like normalize and validate that. Mental health issue crises is not just an American thing. If you look across cultures around the world, people experience mental health crises and issues. It's just how different cultures describe and characterize, talk about, and address these issues vary culture by culture. So this is a human thing. I'm connecting this back. Like, this is a human experience. I can share, after I had my daughter, I was suffering from postpartum, and all I did was have a baby. Not all I did, because that was work. But you get the gist of like, My hormones were changing, my biology was changing, and I had depression just because I gave birth. So these things happen to the best of us. And what's more important is that we learn how to heal, how to cope. That way we can better navigate the challenges when they do arise. So I wanted to focus a little bit of this video on, well, a lot of bit of this video on Black mental health. And this is more of a bullet pointed video, and I want to make more content that gets into a little bit of these topics in depth and more depth. And so first I want to name that, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. I've said this already, but it's so important that we work on breaking the stigma for Black folk around seeking help when you need it. How I like to think about it is your brain is arguably, not even arguably, your brain is the most crucial organ in your body. Your brain controls every breath you take, every step you take, every move you make. Your brain is the control center. If your brain is not right, if it's not functioning, if you're not thinking clearly, your emotions are all over the place, you're behaving in ways that are unsafe or worrisome, you're jeopardizing your life. And I give that, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be all dramatic about it, but your brain is crucial. So I tell people, if your brain is sick, if it's not feeling right, if it's not functioning the way that it needs to be, why wouldn't you get help? When you seek out help, when you're having mental health distress, you are literally saving your life. If you see somebody else out there struggling and they're unable to cope or bounce back, be resilient, it's really important that we sit down across from that person and talk with them about that, because we could be saving a life. So this is why mental health and breaking the stigma is so crucial. And I'll put a link to NAMI. NAMI's like the National Association of Mental Health. I might be confusing that, but the link will be in there with the appropriate name. And they post a lot of factoids and data. And, we're seeing trends of youth, Black youth, dying by suicide. We are seeing numbers of, increase in terms of people who need mental health care that aren't getting it. So it's really important. I do feel like, though, our community is opening up to talk more about mental health. I think people have been bigger voices. Shout out to Taraji P for her foundation and just the work that she's doing around mental health. So there are people that are really getting out there to advocate, and that's so crucial. I think there are many barriers that get in the way of us seeking help. And one of them is kind of like this crab in the barrel mentality of I'm struggling, I don't really see a way out, so therefore I'm going to encourage you to stay in this bucket of despair with me. I definitely think that, when certain people are being brave, taking the risk to say that there's something wrong, there's oftentimes we're hearing voices that's like, you're fine, you'll be all right. I was going through that too. And not in the compassionate way of I can relate, I understand, I support you, but more of you don't need that help. I really view that as a crab in the barrel, because it's people are out there suffering, and hurt people, and people will try to keep you in the same space that they're in. It's really important to know yourself, to be attuned with yourself, and give yourself what you need. Another big barrier to mental health for Black folks are controlling images. And really, it's narratives like the strong Black woman. You need to do this and do that and carry everybody in your back and be strong. And, that kind of stuff is exhausting. Being a strong Black woman, it's yes, empowerment, sis. But also there has to be balance. You can't be superwoman all the time. And I think for Black men, a major controlling image for Black men is you got to be the strong Black man that doesn't cry, you don't show emotion. Instead of expressing how you feel, you utilize aggression and vulgarity instead of just sitting down and being open and vulnerable. And what complicates that is, toxic masculinity, not only enacted by other men, but by women, which then make men feel like they will be emasculated if they open up and talk about their mental health struggles. And as you remember a couple minutes ago, I just said mental health struggles is a universal human experience. And so somehow these controlling images make us feel and believe that we are not capable of experiencing depression or anxiety. And that's not okay. And I want to backtrack because I realized I forgot something. Other than the big things I named that can contribute to mental health, I often see people in therapy just for things about like making career choices, handling conflict with a friend or family member, how to, stick to their values. So it doesn't even always have to be something serious to bring people into therapy. But I'm going to slow myself down because that will be in another video about therapy, yay or nay. So getting back on track, another thing that, creates barriers to Black people getting mental health care is racial disparities. Therapy ain't cheap. I mean, I work for a school, but if I was working in the community, I could be charging $150 for 60 minutes of people's time. Not everybody has insurance. Not everybody has access to cash like that to be able to pay for services. Now, there are plenty of agencies out there that provide free or sliding scale services, but I think it's important to name that at some level, some of those things aren't even available, and people who really need the mental health care may not be able to get it, and sometimes they may not be able to get quality health care or mental health care. And I'm not trying to throw my profession or colleagues under the bus, but not everybody out there is for us, and that's another problem. I also think that because there's not a lot of Black psychologists, a lot of Black mental health clinicians out there, we exist, but we're not everywhere. I think oftentimes there's misconceptions or perceptions of why getting mental health treatment is important, why learning how to care for yourself is important. So I think that does add to the barriers to getting people in the door. I think another big one that depends, because I've seen some openness, so I'll name it and then I'll give an example. Oftentimes people are having this battle between their religion and mental health. And I think, there's this history of being told to pray it away. God will handle everything. God will, diminish your suffering. And I honor and respect people's belief around religion. And how I view it is that it doesn't have to be a this or that or or thing. It can be an and thing, and I'll use and thing a lot. Really, and thing is like you can be religious and you can seek mental health. There are therapists out there that are trained, not even trained, but that have their own faith and do practice from a faith-based lens when providing psychological care to people. My grandfather is a pastor, and he is the plug. He loves talking about mental health. He loves talking about how, it's important to seek it out. And kind of how I view it is, I grew up believing like God gave people gifts, and God puts people and situations and circumstances in your life to help you grow. And I believe that, there are people in this field who are really helpful, caring, and compassionate, and are put here to help you. So, that's a different topic for a different day, but I do feel like at times there is a clash between religion and should I seek out mental health care. And so, thinking about those barriers, I want to talk about, why it's important to at least try different things. Therapy doesn't have to necessarily be for you, but there's support groups. Try talking to a close family friend, a family member, a best friend, a cousin, somebody. The first step in really realizing where we are internally is to talk about it. And if you can't talk about it, journal about it. But I think kind of just sitting with your own experiences is really important. And if you're a person that's already deep in it, you've done the exploration, you believe in therapy or you believe in mental health, advocate. It's really important that we get out there, that we normalize suffering, and we validate people's pain, and that we talk about ways to heal individually and collectively. Please don't shame people. you may not be able to relate to them, but please don't shame people for wanting help, for wanting to be supported. And it's really risky to tell people like, hey, I'm struggling, my mental's not right. That takes bravery and courage. So I want us to just be mindful of how we receive people when they are sharing their struggles with us. So I'll leave the video at that. This is more so raising awareness to what mental health is, what challenges we face, and why it's important to acknowledge mental health. I will make another video that talks about how do we cope and heal, and what does that process look like. And I think I'll loop that in with the therapy yay or nay video. But thank you for coming to my channel. There will be more. I'm trying to just give little digestible small chunks. So please like, subscribe, follow my Instagram. You all have a wonderful rest of your day, week, whatever, and I will catch you back here in the future.